Okay, I have about 15 minutes, folks, to do a little more reading of this great book, Billy's Back, which is a small portion of the 666-page book that I read and lost. I can't find it. The Memoirs of Billy Shears. I'll get it again if a lot of people share this and comment on it and like it. If not, then I'm just going to read this one, maybe in the second version. But when it was on YouTube, it was getting thousands of views before YouTube started to censor all my stuff in the pandemic and shortly before. They were getting ready for the pandemic shortly before by censoring all my shit. Hello, Evelyn. Happy 4th of July. Okay. This chapter, I read half of it. The last video is Playing with the Bonzos. Okay, this is the second Paul McCartney writing this through his encoder, Thomas E. Harriot, otherwise known as Billy Shears or Billy Shepherd or William Wallace Campbell. Okay, the whole thing was more about who was open to having a good time. Each one of us took part in heralding an escape from reality. The band was anything but real. I, as Vivian, had disguises evolving, or rather revolving, from false teeth overlays and any one of several rubber noses and big pink rubber ears, along with a blonde wig, to diverse costumes such as my gorilla suit that were only recognizable by my mannerisms. Altering or concealing identities was part of our ongoing fun. Names, too, were distorted or disguised. For instance, I thought the name Vernon Dudley was plain, but zany enough for our group. Vernon was a lecturer at Goldsmith College. I christened him our very own Vernon Dudley Bohey Noel. The extended name stuck well, unlike the name that I tried to stick to Neil Innes when he joined us. Neil later created the Beatles parody band, the Ruddles. I always enjoyed playing with the Bonzos. I had fun and felt alive with them. As Viv, I was more free to be myself than when I felt stuck in the Paul McCartney role. The Bonzos were not about making enough money or fame. I had plenty of that. It was about laughing it up, having a good old time. I loved it before and loved it still after I became Paul. I never intended to earn a living from it. It was the kind of thing that we did for our entertainment. Later, when I had a lot more resources, I could put a bit more money into it. As the millions came pouring in with my Paul role, I did not in the least mind letting a tiny fraction go to the Bonzos. Expenses for disguises never bothered me at all. In fact, I enjoyed dressing up as much as the music. I made up the spacey pseudonym of Apollo C. Vermouth to suit the Bonzos song, I Am the Urban Spaceman. As Apollo, I co-produced the song that ended up making money for us, but it took my Beatles funds to get it there. As was expedient, I would go back and forth between playing the Paul and Vivian roles, making a network between them. As Vivian, I co-wrote Death Cab for Cuties with my friend Neil Innes. Death Cab, as I will explain elsewhere, refers to Paul's car. Then, networking myself, I, as Paul, welcomed the Bonzos to play Death Cab for Cutie in my Magical Mysteries Tour film with me. Now, as Vivian, singing it as one of the last performances of the movie. The point was to give clues about me standing in for Paul and to show who I really am. I am a cross between them and others. I take on separate personalities with each role, but there is a good deal of overlapping too. The type of music that the Bonzos did that I enjoyed the most was their fun British music hall style, which Americans would call vaudeville. Kind of like that shit, I think, vaudeville. Okay, it was the music for the silent films usually, wasn't it? It is mostly mindless entertainment, a mix of rousing songs and burlesque comic acts. It is not serious music at all, but rather an escape from it. I love all the more serious stuff too, but playing with the Bonzos was just about having a good time. It was play. My fun with the Bonzos lasted decades, and up until I learned that Linda, my love, was slowly dying of cancer. Then my priorities shifted. I wanted to spend whatever time with her that I could. The sense of losing her took all the fun out of pretending to be Vivian Stanshall. All of the personal history that I made up for him had to reach its conclusion in his own death. Linda was compassionate to the end, as I will discuss in a chapter about her. Our family had 3 years' notice. It was more than we gave the world. First, we sought to beat it naturally. Now I have found ways that were less known then, ways that could have added years. When we finally gave up on herbs, we turned to a more traditional Western medicine approach. That is when it was time to tell reporters. Cancer attacks people in many different ways. What cures one person may kill another. Vivian Stanshall was known to wear flamboyant hats. The strange name came from a word game in which we produced the phrase hats in Villa Vans. Scrambling the letters, I soon produced Vivian Stanshall, which, when scrambled further, produced Van Vivian's hats. Vanish all in hats. That vanish all sin. In lavish salt van. And halt vile van sins. Years later, I saw a bumper sticker that reminded me of that last one. It was on an old hand-painted van, presumably, I now realize, by someone most ignorant of love. It said, "If this van's a rockin', don't come a knockin'." Having sex in the van. Okay, Stanshall and Vivian were names I had heard before, but never together. They are both good for the word plays I was looking for. The persona would do the most outrageous performances. Anyone may ask, who shall do such a thing? They answer it, Stanshall. Shit, I gotta go back to work now. Okay, they're requesting me early. See you cats later.